Welcome to Midlife Matters. I'm Marie, and each week I'm joined by my friends Julie and Mindy to talk about all the topics keeping women in the middle years up at night. Today we're learning about having a morning happiness routine. Join us as we share what we've been learning about starting our days out right physically and emotionally. There are so many ways to incorporate happiness into our days, and morning is the perfect time to begin. Let's get started. Listeners, today we're discussing Chapter 10 in our monthly book series, Happy School by Julie Gordon. And if you're new to this series, you do not need to be reading the book to follow along. We're doing one episode a month, and today we're up to Chapter 10, which discusses the importance of a morning happiness routine. Each chapter in this book is leading us to the subtitle of the book, which is Where Women Learn the Secrets to Overcome Discouragement and Worry. So again, no worries if you're just joining in, because we're making sure that each episode and chapter can stand alone. As I said earlier, this chapter is about the importance of a morning happiness routine. Is this something that you guys have thought about or implemented before, Julie and Mindy?
Well, yeah, I have a morning routine, but I guess I've never thought of it as a happiness routine. Like that
Okay.
like I have a routine, but it's like I have not thought about it before as a way to kind of set my thinking straight for the day, So I liked that aspect of it.
Right.
Yes, I definitely have a routine. Sometimes I'm more intentional than others, and especially when summer hits. I mean, everything goes out the window.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yes, like Julie, I didn't think of it as a happiness thing. I just kind of thought of it as like a survival thing.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, and I was thinking that, well, of course I have a morning routine because I've had kids in the house for 26 years, and I don't know how you can have kids and not have a morning routine.
Mm-hmm.
Like either just by default or one that you've planned,
Right.
especially if you've had school-age kids for any length of time. But this year, when all my kids are in college for the first time, I'm going to be kind of at a loss in the morning. Like my morning routine can be anything I want it to be. And believe it or not, that's not as comforting as you think it might be. It's like, oh, well, I could sleep till noon every day. Who would care? Like, it just, I don't know.
Right.
So I'm interested in talking about this because I do think that having a routine for each day does increase our happiness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have loved that aspect though, Marie. Like, because when you said, Mindy, that when summer comes, things go out the window, that's when I have my best routines because it is under my control,
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like of course we have a routine when we have kids, but it's not you know what I mean? It's not like what we
Mhm.
want to do. So in the summer, I really look forward to that because if I want to sit for an hour, I can, to read or whatever, study.
Mm-hmm.
So I have relished the time to myself.
Well,
Yeah.
so Marie, there's hope.
I know. Maybe Mindy and I haven't gotten to the point where we've ever been able to choose a morning routine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't feel like there's hope for me because I do much better during the school year when I have chunks of time. I'm like, you have to be intentional, Mindy, because you got to go pick them up or they have this after school. And so then I get things done. But it seems like when I'm left to my own devices, I'm like, what should I do? And then I never do anything.
Right. Yes. So I think Mindy and I both should probably get a lot out of this episode today because we don't know how to have a morning routine.
Not without kids. I'm kind of glad I still have kids in the house.
I know. I think it's hard to even give yourself permission to have a morning routine because I think on the surface, it seems almost spoiled. Like if you were just to say to your average person on the street, Julie, if you were to say your morning routine, which I think we're going to find more about, I don't know, I would feel self-conscious and I would be thinking like, is she productive at all? That's what I would be thinking.
Oh, geez.
Well, just start telling your friends about your morning happiness routine, and they're just going to all think you're the biggest snob.
Right.
Who's happy in the morning?
So it could be a little, I don't know, I looked at it kind of as off-putting to even talk about with other people, but obviously I have some baggage to unpack here today. Julie, you need to enlighten us. So let's get down to the discussion questions, and maybe just breaking it down. Maybe we do have morning routines, Mindy, and we don't even know it. So like the first one is, do you plan your day the night before? Discuss the benefits of writing out your plans and what prevents you from doing so. So like, do you guys think about your day and make a list or plan?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Do you, Julie? Even though you could literally do whatever you want every day?
Yes, because if you don't write it down, you don't do it. And I've always been this way, but I think it's even more important now. Because when you have unlimited free time, I have to even structure in fun things, I just keep this little notepad in my kitchen on the counter. And before going to bed every night, I write things down. And she kind of calls it putting anchors in your day. Like I would even write down something that was regularly scheduled every week, like my workout.
Right.
And I kind of keep it in the order of the day. Like if something's happening in the morning, I write it at the top of the list. If it's at night, I'm going to write it towards the bottom. Put in doctor's appointment, my workout, meetings, even our podcast. I would write 10 o'clock podcast. And then I kind of fill it in with, I want to meet this friend. I want to call somebody. I need to mail this birthday card. I want to go to the pool. I need to water my plants. Like I'm going to declutter something. I'm going to spend an hour doing my watercolor today. I will write that down. And she talks about that, like taking responsibility for enjoying your life. Like make sure you put down things that you just want to do too, not have to do.
Right.
Okay. Do you do anything like that, Mindy?
That's exactly what I do. Every night I write the name of the day.
Me too.
So I know.
You know what day it is.
So I know what day it is first. We'll just
I only have to do this on Tuesday.
Simple. And then I do it by the time. So I'll do like 8 a.m. workout, 9 a.m. grocery pickup, 10 a.m. whatever. So I put everything that has a time that it has to happen first. And then under that, I put like things that I hope to accomplish, like weeding the garden or transplanting one of my flowers or, things like that. And so I don't always accomplish all of that part of the list, but I certainly accomplish. And I would guess that would be the anchors in my day or the things that have to happen that are by time.
Well, interesting.
Yeah. And those things that don't get accomplished, that happens to me too. And those just kind of float around. Like they might I might rewrite them for the next day. Like, okay. But for some reason, I have to get it out of my head and on the paper so that my mind it'll quit playing that loop of like, I've got to do this, or I don't want to forget this. And that helps me go to sleep if I know it's all down somewhere.
Me too. So Marie, I'm curious. What do you do or don't do?
I don't write anything. So I write down doctor's appointments when I make them. If something's reoccurring, I usually never write it down. Like I have a Thursday morning Bible study, but I wouldn't write Thursday morning Bible study. Just usually someone will ask me if I could do something on Thursday, and I'll be like, I think I have something on Thursdays. Then I can't remember, but I'm like, I really think Thursdays I have something. But obviously it would probably help me to write it down. I don't know. I mean, I should be better. I do have things in my mind that are like, I wouldn't mind accomplishing this or that, but I don't specifically write them down unless there's a deadline, Anything like with a deadline where I have to be somewhere at a certain time, I will write that down if it's a one-off, like a doctor's appointment, something. I don't know. I guess the only thing I do the night before is put out my workout clothes so that it's easier for me to make myself put them on. And I do load the dishwasher, turn that on, like try to maybe set things up for the next day in just my environment. I guess my environment I try to set up, but I never mentally, I guess, try to set up, and maybe that would help me.
You said you didn't write down something that's regularly scheduled like your Bible study. And I think the reason that I still do that is because I know that's going to affect other things I might want to do. Like I see, okay, this takes up this chunk, so I better not over schedule something or
Right.
like, oh, that's going to be unreasonable for me to really do all this tomorrow because this takes up 2 hours. It just kind of gives me a timeline.
Yeah. I need structure.
I guess, okay, and I've talked about this in the podcast before that my kids make fun of me a lot. I could see if I had like this planner on the kitchen counter, that would become fodder for entertainment. Open up. Mom wrote down water her plants. Is this how boring your life is that you need to write down water your plants? Like, I could just see. So I would probably be afraid to even write down all my little thoughts.
No, this is on my phone in my notes tab.
Is it? Okay.
I don't write anything on paper because I would leave the note at home, or I find the note, when winter comes back around, I find it in the coat pocket, from last year. I'm like, oh, there it was.
I don't tear it off and take it with me. Like if it's a list of groceries or whatever, I keep it on my phone. But this is just to keep as I'm passing by. Okay, it's time.
You actually write it down on a piece of paper.
Yes, on a notepad that always stays on my counter. And nobody cares what I write. Nobody ever reads it. No, they don't.
No.
That's below their radar.
The thing I should do is write it in cursive because that's like a code and they won't read that.
Read it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, obviously 2 out of 3 people on this podcast either write things on paper or in notes. Like this is something I maybe need to look at doing.
Okay. And she said this, I think it was only in the study guide, but she said, to plan the next day, you can use an app on your phone or one on your computer, but researchers are now saying that there's something special about an old-fashioned handwritten list because it is written in your own handwriting. Somehow seeing your own handwriting is motivating. I thought that was interesting.
Is it now? Listen, let me tell you, sometimes when I do something extra that I had not typed onto my note, I will type it onto the note simply so I can erase it.
Oh, yes. You got to draw that line through it.
You're high-fiving me through the screen. I love it.
Okay, well, maybe this is why you guys sleep better than me, because the next question is, do you have trouble going to sleep or going back to sleep in the middle of the night? And I wonder if you don't have trouble sleeping because you've already written your whole life down.
That's right.
Julie and I are very good sleepers. We have talked about that before.
Yes.
I never thought about that being the key to it all.
We've emptied our minds. We've got blank slates going on up here.
I know. And so then you don't have an answer for this follow-up question, which is what strategies do you use to help you sleep?
All right, Marie, tell us all about it.
Oh, how about strategies that I've tried and have failed? Like, I've tried all the strategies. I actually have gotten a little bit better about sleeping. I know people are going to roll their eyes, but it's comforting to me to have my pets with me sleeping in the bed. I don't know why. In the middle of the night, when they come and cuddle, that helps me relax. So I don't know if that harkens back to like stuffed animals as a kid or what, but they actually do help me to sleep. Now, sometimes they wake me up too early though, so it could be a catch-22. But I mean, I've tried all the strategies. Don't look at your screen because that keeps you awake. Like take melatonin. Don't watch anything an hour before. Don't look at your phone in the middle of the night. Look at your phone and write down what's worrying you. Listen to a podcast. Like I've tried, I feel like them all, and I still will have trouble sleeping a few nights a month, sometimes a little bit longer.
Okay.
Well, one of the things she talked about, and I don't know if y'all caught what she meant about counting. She recommends counting backwards from 100.
I've tried that.
And I have tried that too. Like if I wake up, and it usually works because it's so boring. And I noticed like many times my mind gets off of things and I have to go, wait a minute, I was on 90. And then I have to get back. Like it's very, you have to be very intentional to stay on track or your mind still wanders. Okay. But occasionally when I can't sleep, like if I wake up in the middle of the night, I will actually have the thought, well, I might as well make the best use of this time. So I would read or turn on the TV or the phone or get up and actually do something. And she says to resist that because you're never going to go back to sleep if you do that. And, you might get something done, but you're going to pay for it the next day. That is not the way to go back to sleep if that's what you're really wanting to do. Because that sounds like a great idea. Like, oh, well, I'm up. Let me just get stuff done, but if you're really wanting to go back to sleep, that is probably not the best
right
thing to think about.
Yeah, usually if I'm waking up in the middle of the night, like it's more because I either have to go to the bathroom or I'm hot or I'm cold. So if I can just take care of like whatever basic needs need to happen, I can typically get right back to sleep unless there's something major going on in life and my mind has that kind of anxiety or whatever. Like if something does press onto my mind, I have to lay there and pray and I have to give it to the Lord. And that's the only way I have to feel like I'm giving it to somebody. Like, please take care of this, get it off my mind and help me surrender and be at peace. And so I will pray until I'm asleep.
I have to even be careful about praying because if it is that, we've talked about this in our prayer topic, that sometimes my prayer can be like an anxious,
same thing over and over.
Yes, and just like begging God and then I get worked up but if it's like, God, I surrender, you take care of this. It has to be that kind of prayer, very short. But if I start going through the situation and the details, then those thoughts fill my mind and take over. So I really have liked trying the counting. She said, visualize stepping down steps. And she goes, it has to be so boring that your mind is ready to just shut off.
Right. Well, the author of the book also asked us to think about sleeping and have asked us if we have evaluated our alcohol or caffeine intake, our exercise, or have we evaluated getting a white noise machine. I do think that you have to look at all of that. I don't do any caffeine like after like noon. I mean, do you guys have certain limits around your exercise or your caffeine or anything like that? Do you look at it?
I do watch caffeine. Yeah. Usually try to just keep it as my morning cup of coffee and that's it. But, I mean, I have gone out and if we had pizza, I might get a diet, Coke Zero, and just that little bit usually doesn't harm me, keep me up. But, Marie, like sometimes when it's so hot, we'll choose to walk from 8 to 9.
Oh,
but that doesn't seem to bother me. I'll go in and get a nice shower and then it feels good to,
Yeah, walking doesn't bother me, but probably if I did like a really hard workout, maybe it would.
Yeah. That's kind of where I'm at. There's something really awesome about having an afternoon cup of coffee sometimes, like about 3:00. But I wouldn't go after that. Like sometimes it's an appetite suppressant. Like I'll start getting snacky about that time. And it's typically because I'm a little tired. I should probably just, sit down for a minute, but I'm like, ooh, coffee sounds great. But so I don't go after that. And like you guys, I think I could do a simple, like a calm walk, but I definitely have learned that even if I get all excited about this great workout at night, it will keep me up. I get so excited and motivated and then I can't settle down.
I mean, some people like don't watch TV after a certain point. Like I haven't really gone to that.
Nah.
But I know there are a lot of things. I think basically her point is if we get good sleep, we're going to go into our morning routine with a lot more happiness.
Right.
Yeah, setting you up for success. Like that's you got to start there, I think.
Right.
I will say this, probably the thing that prepares me for bed the most. And I don't wash my hair every night, but I do shower every night. And that shower is kind of like I brush my teeth, I shower. I need to stop eating kind of at a certain time too, because if I eat too late, then that will keep me up. The brushing my teeth and the showering, those are signs. Like the night is coming, You can't eat anymore. You already brushed your teeth.
Right.
We can't do that twice a night. And so it just relaxes me.
Yeah, I can see that.
I try to do that an hour or two before I go to bed.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
If I can.
All right. Well, do you currently have a program to get your thinking going in the right direction as soon as you wake up? What thoughts are you going to think about as soon as you become conscious? And those two questions already make my heart race. Like, I have to think of something the moment I become conscious? What am I supposed to think about? What do you guys do for this?
Well, first of all, I love her analogy. She said, if you struggle with negative thoughts and emotions, then most likely you will in the morning as well. And that you have to kind of think of that as a handicap to overcome. Like if you were diabetic, you'd get up, you'd check your blood sugar, you might give yourself a shot, you'd take some medicine or eat something, So she said, don't bemoan the work of a morning happiness routine because it's going to take you where you want to go. Like if that's,
yes.
I mean, some people wake up happy and they don't need to correct all this, but not everybody does. And so she said, like if you're waking up with these negative thoughts, moving into another room is a strategy, which is what we've learned in previous chapters. But I like when she said that the gratefulness room was probably the best to move into. And this is something that doesn't take me sitting down with my coffee and finding a quiet time and spending an hour. Like I've literally started when I'm still in the bed. Thank you that I slept.
Thank you that I'm not Marie.
I've even done just very simple things like thank you that I slept in my bed and not a hospital bed. Thank you for my sight. Thank you for my ability to walk. Like as I'm walking from my bed to the, thank you for feeling safe and secure enough to fall asleep, like that I have a home and thank you that my kitchen and pantry are full of food. I'm getting ready to go eat my breakfast. And then people in my life and like, that's very simple. And it's an amazing way to just turn your thoughts pretty quickly before you get a chance to start down that negative path. Because you can almost do it with other people around and the other things going on,
Right.
Yeah.
I like that, Julie. Very practical. And I appreciated that the author said that a lot of times we have gratefulness practices, but we haven't always trained ourselves to go hunt for that first thing in the morning. And so I appreciated that she said that. And again, this is something we can learn. It's not, you don't have to buy anything. You don't have to, sign up for anything. Like this is so easy, so practical. And like Julie said, you just do it as you're getting out of bed. And so I haven't always done that with my thoughts. My routine doesn't typically start till I'm out of bed, I've made the bed, and I'm starting to get ready in the bathroom. And then I have a routine. But the training my thoughts is a new idea, a new skill set that I'd really like to develop.
So what is you get out of bed and you immediately make your bed, Mindy?
Okay. Yes, I do. Even if I'm like dying to go to the bathroom.
Really?
Because
like you don't even go to the bathroom.
I'm like doing the potty dance. I'm like, gotta make the bed. Cause I know if I don't do it right then, like I don't like the feeling of it hanging over my head. And I feel better with my bed made.
Now, is Bryce always up before you?
Yes.
Okay.
Because he knows if he's not, he's making the bed.
Oh, okay.
So he definitely gets up before me.
No one wants to make the bed.
Like, oh, shoot. I'm in bed longer. So yeah. Mindy's going to expect that I do that.
Well,
but
yeah. And I remember on our self-care, you said that like as soon as you wake up, don't you drink like a really big glass of water?
So that kind of all starts in the bathroom.
Okay.
I turn on my Bible app. I start to, wash my face, brush my teeth, and I put just enough makeup on and I do something with my hair, even if it's dirty. Like today it's in a French braid because it's dirty, but I do dress for the day, even if it's sweats and a tank top. I put deodorant on, I make sure I'm ready for the day when I walk out of my room, because it does take me a little while to be ready for other people, for other things. So I listen to my Bible app. I just keep going through the Bible in a year on the app. And so just as I get ready, because I don't have to think about it, like, you know what I mean? And I think that's the part of the routine that's really nice is you don't have to think about it. You make it a practice. So like really it sounds like has made that practice of her thoughts a routine. And I'd like to do that because right now I don't have that. That section of my mind is completely free for whatever.
I'm thinking of like, because we do have other age groups that listen, and I'm thinking at different points in my life, like just how I've felt at different stages in my life when I wake up. Like when you have young kids, you used to wake up to like crying. Yes. It's really hard to wake up happy when you wake up to crying. And then when you have kids that are a little bit older, it's like you wake up to the alarm and it's like you have to go wake them up, get them ready, catch the bus, blah, blah, blah. Like, I guess I'm wondering, like, for listeners that are listening, so in those instances, would you recommend getting up earlier than you know that cry is going to be? Or what do you do?
I mean, that I always struggled with that when my kids were at home because I'm not a morning person. So asking me to get up earlier ever was not something I did very well. I would try it. And then I felt so horrible being up so early that it just negated all that I was trying to do. So, and I know we're going to talk about what we call a quiet time later, but I always felt a lot of guilt back then because you hear about you have to start your morning off right. And I chose to have my quiet time in the afternoon or at night, because that's when I felt the best. So yeah, that was always a struggle when other people are needing your attention and your help so early in the morning.
Right. I know that was me too. I mean, my life for 20 plus years was reactionary in the morning to other people. And I did not enjoy that. I there was no morning happiness routine going on. Again, that's why I called it more survival. And I think you just have to give yourself grace, that depending on what's going on in life, you may not have control over when you wake up. So right now I do. And right now, if I can get to bed at a good time, I do enjoy waking up earlier than I ever have previously in my life. So, and so I do have that time. I'm not so reactionary. Things are a little more planned for my day, but yeah, when the kids were little, I was grabbing time. Typically, I would have kind of alone time when they would take naps. Or because I made them, even if they got too old for a nap, they still had to have their quiet time while the baby slept. Like I needed that mental break.
Yeah. So afternoon, was a good time. Or even if they weren't going to school or starting school, then I would have my time,
Right.
But it never was just upon waking.
No, me neither. How about you, Marie?
When she said, what are your thoughts when you first become conscious? For a lot of years, it was like, darn, why are they up so early? Like, that was your first thought. Like,
who woke them
seriously? Why didn't they sleep longer?
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, I had one that used to wake up at 5:45, just no matter what time I put him to bed. I'm not going to get up earlier than 5:45. Like, every morning that he woke up at 5:45, my first conscious thought was, why is he up at 5:45? Until he was old enough to get up on his own.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Marie. That was my first child. That was Abby. And I was like, Bryce, like, she's your morning buddy. She's only waking up because you're awake.
Yeah. So, I mean, I definitely want listeners to know that if you aren't able to implement a morning happiness routine, maybe you can implement these things at other times of the day or just a little something to make it happier. But moms go through so many different stages of life. It would be impossible at some of our kids' ages to have done some of this stuff.
I think there's probably aspects you could still incorporate, even if you're a young mom and even if you're not in control at all about when you're waking up or how many times you're waking up. So even to start training your thoughts, though, like you'd be like, why is the baby up? Okay, thank you, God, for the baby.
Right. Yeah, and it depends on your personality. Like if you love mornings, like my daughter is more of a morning person and she just has to have that time. So she does get up before her child.
Okay.
And she just likes that time in the house, in the quiet before he's awake. And she's made that a priority. So, but she enjoys that. Like, I just felt grumpy and tired and icky if I was up at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Well, what are some of the distractions for you guys in the morning now that keep you from having a morning happiness routine? Like we've talked about the distractions that maybe come when you're younger, but what are some of the distractions that maybe you experience now?
Well, one thing now is my husband has on morning news and I always think, I need to know what's going on in the world. So I'll just sit here, and talk about a way to get you down.
Oh, I hate
when
morning
you're trying
news.
to get yourself up.
Right.
You just want to crawl back under the covers and never come out,
Yes.
So that is a distraction, and it's hard because I mean he's watching that in our room, so I've got to leave, and then I would also say the phone, and I'm embarrassed to say that, but it really takes a lot of discipline to not go there first. Like, oh, I'll just check my email. I'll just check to see if anybody texted me, or then you get on social media because you see a notification, and it's like, ugh.
That's
like
true, Julie.
Why at 56 do I let myself do that? But
yeah,
it is
because we're weak. We are weak people.
We are. Exactly. We didn't have this as children. We're making up for lost time.
I actually am so glad that I didn't have stuff like this when my kids were little, because even if my son got up at 5:45, the only things to do were, one, I could try to bring him in bed with us and maybe try to get him to sleep till 6:30 when he was really tiny. Never hardly ever happened. But as he got a little bit older, okay, well, now he's up eating breakfast with dad really early. Okay, well, now we're out for a walk really early in the morning. I'm pushing him in the stroller. Or now we're playing, such and such. Or now we're having 45 minutes of TV time because he likes Barney. Like, whatever. But I never had to wrestle with the temptation of spending the first 45 minutes of the day on my phone. Like, at least we got up and interacted. And I think if I had my phone to distract me, it would have been I would have been even more upset to have had to get up at 5:45.
Yeah, I think that all the time, Maria. I think, gosh, what a terrible parent I might have been.
Yes.
If I had that. Like, that is just a huge temptation. And when it's already hard being a parent.
I agree. And the comparison game, I think, would have been really difficult. Like right now, I already feel like, you get on social media and you aren't doing things as well as everybody else out there. And my house will never look like that. My kids are never going to be dressed that nice. Like they're never going to accomplish that, or I'm never going to accomplish that. And so I just think, that would have been really difficult with children, little,
Yeah, that's so true. How could you start out with happy thoughts if you're comparing yourself on social media? I mean, that's just an impossibility.
I want to commend my two oldest because they are not on social media for that reason. And one of my children said they got back on and they were like, oh, why did I do that? Like, I hate this. Like, this is terrible. Yeah. So neither one are on. And I think, wow, that's so freeing, to just live your life and not
maybe
care
we should, as a podcast, we could challenge ourselves to get off for a certain amount of time and then podcast about it.
That would be a good thing. Yeah. No, notice the hesitation in our voice.
Well, we'd have the solidarity. The three of us could do it for a certain amount of time. Yeah.
Right. That's true.
Yeah, we could notice our morning time. We could notice all different aspects of life and how it changed.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. All right. We'll have to talk about that later.
Yeah. All right. One of the things that Julie talked about earlier was trying to have a quiet time with God in the morning. And if you don't want to have a quiet time with God, I mean, some people like to meditate. Some people like to be reading like some kind of nonfiction self-help book, like just some kind of quiet time. But for the three of us, we would ideally like to have a quiet time with God in the morning. But I can never seem to make that happen. And then, of course, I start out the day feeling a little guilty when I hear about my friend who has made it happen. So what's you guys' experience with this?
Well, I do think as moms, we probably all struggle with this at different phases of life. Not being a morning person, I'm just never going to choose to get up earlier than I have to. So I did feel guilty, too, as a young mom, because everybody talks about the morning quiet time, and that just never fit for me. So sometimes if mine was in the morning, it was like after everybody went to school or after everybody got started on school, I'd come back to it, but it was never first thing. And then, I even did it at night sometimes. So I think you just have to find what works for you. But morning always does seem ideal because it's a way to, like she's talking about, to reframe thoughts, focus on truth instead of lies that you're believing in your head and negative thoughts. So, and now I have all the time in the world. So morning is great to do it. So.
Yeah. What's your experience with it, Mindy?
That when I'm in control of my day. I do have a morning quiet time routine. And I'll say I had to take the pressure off though years ago and not feel like I had to read so many chapters in the Bible or spend so much time in prayer or do a certain Bible study. I had to really take all of these expectations, these exterior expectations off because sometimes my morning quiet time is going for a walk and just praying. And I think that when it comes right down to it for me, I do enjoy journaling. I can't say that it's, it's not necessarily spiritual, but as I journal, I do get there. I'll recap the day before. I'll write about the things happening or things on my mind, prayers that I have for my children, my husband, friends. And then I do I don't feel like I have to do certain things, I guess, to meet with God, but it really is intentionally setting aside kind of my day. Like I kind of lay it before him, whether it be with journaling or with talking to him. And so sometimes I'll memorize a verse, especially in my 40s. I've noticed that my body kind of started breaking down a little bit this year. And so there was a verse that I just memorized and I thought it was funny when I read it. So I was like, oh, I have to memorize that. It was Romans 12:12. It was to,
did you forget it?
It's so good. I'm like, it's patient. It's to be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, and faithful in prayer. And I thought that was so applicable because I was like, yes, I have been afflicted.
Yes.
But I'm going to be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, and faithful in prayer. And so sometimes God will give me just the right verse and I think he's laughing at me and I'm laughing with him at me. And so sometimes, yes, it's like things all come together. And other times I've got like 2 minutes. I'll write one half sentence in my journal and that's the only time I have. But, so I just have noticed that the days that I'm intentional, the days that I can just kind of talk to him and be honest about what's going on inside of me, giving that to him, that's what I would call my quiet time with the Lord.
Yeah, and I think it's just an awareness too. Like if I don't get to do it, I can get to 9:00 that night and think, did I even think about God today? But starting that routine off in the morning where I try to let his thoughts become my thoughts. I can wake up in a terrible state of mind, be down and discouraged, but afterwards, I mean, it's kind of hard to stay that way. And it's hard to explain how that happens. But there's really just nothing like it. Like it. So I always pray, like, let me be aware of you, God, throughout the day. To not miss things, to not miss gifts that you're giving me and see beauty in things and good in people. And it's just a good way, to invite him in for the day. And then I do stay aware, but if not, I can just blow right through the day and miss a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah. So Julie, I'm curious, what are some of the different Bible studies or ways you've studied the Bible? How has that looked for you over the years?
Well, it really changes, like I said, where I am in life, when I had small children, when I had older children at home, different responsibilities. But I kind of just wrote down a list of resources that I cycle through, I might use these books on repeat throughout the years and then put them away and bring them back out. Like right now I'm doing the Bible recap, which is reading through the Bible chronologically. I'm on my second year and, it's a short, maybe 20-minute read and then a recap on a podcast where she kind of recaps what you read. And I've loved that. My favorite devotional books are My Utmost for His Highest, which is Oswald Chambers. And if you are new to that book, there is an updated English, easier to read version because I think it was written in the early 1800s. And sometimes it can be a little hard to understand. So get the updated, like modern English.
Okay.
I really like Jesus Calling. It's super simple. Like there's not a lot of depth there, but it can really get my mind. Like that's one of those things that just a quick reading can totally change the way I'm thinking about my day. I like the Bible Project, and there's an app for your phone now, and it guides you through podcast and Bible readings and studies. I think they have Genesis, Exodus, and Leviticus done.
Mm-hmm.
So they're kind of building that up. And then sometimes I just like to sit when I have lots of time. This would be like a summertime thing. Sit and listen through sermons like by Timothy Keller or Tim Mackey, who is the Bible Project guy. Like he'll do sermon series. These are all like archived from when he was a pastor, but like themes of the Bible, covenants. He had a 13-week series on the Sermon on the Mount, and I'll take notes and journal it. And I kind of like doing those deep dives when I have lots of times. And then sometimes I read books, like on grieving or suffering right now. Tim Keller has a book on suffering. Some people read, she mentioned reading like a psalm and a proverb every day. Going by the day of the month. Like if it's the first day of the month, read Psalm 1, Proverbs 1. So yeah, there's just all kinds of things, and it just depends on where I am. But those are kind of what I cycle through.
Those are great ideas.
Yeah, they are.
All right. Well, in this book, we've talked a lot about our WMDs. Not our weapons of mass destruction, but they are our what's missing and disappointing. And basically from the first chapter until now, she's been teaching us strategies for kind of how to identify those, reframe them, quarantine them if we need to, like just a lot of different strategies. Sometimes when we wake up and we first become conscious, thoughts flood our mind. And have you guys discovered that your WMDs, your what's missing and disappointings, come to your mind upon waking? And if they do, are they the same every morning? Like, what do you kind of do with that stuff in the morning?
Well, for me right now, yes. My mind immediately goes to John's cancer, kind of loneliness, and my future. And that is not a very good way to start your day. And then besides all the everyday cares of life, like your kids and the economy and the state of the world,
Oh my goodness.
And so that's why I appreciated what she said at the beginning. Like that's a huge handicap to wake up to every single morning.
Right.
So I have to look at it like if I were diabetic, I'd have to do all these things to be ready for the day physically. So I need to do all these things to be ready emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, because really the first thought on my mind every day is to get up, get my coffee, feed the dog, and then I'm going back to bed.
Oh, those are your first desires, you mean?
Yeah, because I know I have to get up to do those things or get John's breakfast, but then I'm going back to bed because I really have no purpose or reason to be out of bed today. And then that gratitude list and like it. I'm not saying it's magical. It is supernatural. Like it changes my thoughts. But if I wanted to stay there, I could, but yeah, it's like you take one step and then your mind changes a little bit and then you want to change it more and you just keep going. And then it's like, okay, I go back and look at that big list I made the night before. It's like, okay, I can do these things.
That's really good, Julie, because I think that obviously you're going through almost what people would say is an extreme amount of stress every single morning. Like, I think just in your own humanness, like you said, like, why even bother getting out of bed? It just would feel so overwhelming. And I appreciate you saying just even the analogy of the diabetic, because this is necessary for my mental health. Like, I cannot exist without this.
Yeah, it's just as important as your physical.
Yeah. How about you, Mindy? Like, I feel like if you still have kids at home and you're getting up and it's during the school year, it's almost like you don't have any choice. You have to get out of bed. But like, what kind of thoughts come to your mind?
A lot of times it's just like, what do I need to do? I will say, if I could speak to the listener that may struggle with this, there have been times in my life, depending on where I was in my health journey, where the first thoughts on my mind were all the ways I messed up the day before. And it was so defeating and it was so depressing. And so being able to celebrate victories in your life over recounting the mistakes you have made in your life is is a true change in thinking. And similar to Julie, that when you begin to change that, I mean, it's like trudging through 6 feet of snow. I mean, to try to change that neural pathway of, instead of how did I mess up, and into what good happened, or, like that completely changed my life, though, because there were years that I felt that I lived defeated because all I thought about were the ways that I could have done better, the ways I messed up, like, what was wrong. And I think that when you learn how to start saying, okay, that wasn't ideal, but this happened, and this happened. And so something that I repeat to myself now, especially if I felt that I have not maybe lived my life to the fullest the day before, and maybe did make mistakes in whatever capacity, something that I recount to myself first thing in the morning when I feel that way now is the Lord's mercies are new every morning. His grace is new. His love is there. He has not changed. I am a sinful creature. Lord, please help me to receive your forgiveness, surrender these things that have not done well, and just make me new again today. And I really do say that on the days that I'm mentally struggling.
Yeah. That's making his thoughts your thoughts.
Ooh, yeah. Our brains can be so heavy.
I don't know if I wake up with a lot of what's missing and disappointments. I am a morning person. So I kind of feel like early morning hours are stolen happy time. The day can be anything. Nobody's had a chance to mess up yet. Maybe a lot of people aren't up yet. So I like the feeling of being able to walk around and do things with nobody asking me any questions or needing anything from me. And most of my life, waking up in the morning, first thing I do is, well, it used to be get the kids to work, get the kids to school, and then exercise. But now that everyone can drive, it's usually exercise. Like I usually have gotten my exercise for the day out of the way in the morning. So I feel like I either am waking up and preparing to go to my boot camp, or I'm waking up and taking the dog on a long walk, or I'm waking up and I don't know. I just tend to do exercise early in the morning. Maybe I do that too, just because I think I feel more motivated then after I've exercised. Because left to my own devices, I might lay in bed or lay on the couch for the next 3 hours. Like if I didn't have anywhere to go or be or something, I don't know. But I want to incorporate more of these mental things, because maybe I incorporate physical things in the morning, but I don't incorporate mental.
Yeah, because you could do some of those things while you're exercising, walking, and gratitude list or whatever.
And Marie, I have heard you mention before that this is a big part of your routine, that you have to set your clothes out the night before, because every day you kind of dread going to work out.
Well, I do.
And that, I mean, that you do, but you still do it. And so I think that routine helps you get to a place where you're thankful you did it. Like I know you've said before, like every time you're done, you're glad that you did it. And I think that just is your routine.
Yeah, maybe I wake up dreading exercise. And I'm so used to it, I don't even think about it anymore.
You focus all your negative attention on the dread being the workout. So once you've conquered that, you're good to go.
Right. But speaking of working out, because I know all of us like to walk, and one of her questions is, were you aware of the huge effect a morning walk has on your mood? And would you like to add that to your routine? And I would just say that I feel like everyone should have a morning walk. Like, I just don't see a downside to it. I have never not felt better after a morning walk. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, I see the huge effect it has on my mood, a walk, but I don't enjoy it in the morning. I try to keep, now that I have control, I try to not do anything outside of the house until a certain time. Like my workout's not even until 11. I want to have time to myself to read and study and do all of this. So if I get out of the house, then I'm kind of done. I've lost that desire to sit and read and study. And so I'd rather exercise later in the day or even walk at night. So, yeah.
Okay.
That's exactly how I am too, is I feel like once, if I'm motivated, I need to get all the things done that I'm motivated to do, or I'm not going to really want to think about anything later on in the day. but I will walk later on in the day. So also right now during the summer, I definitely don't want to walk because it's so humid that like I have already gotten ready for my day. First of all, I'm not going to go walking before I get ready because that would mess up my routine. So
yeah, I don't want to be sweaty early in the morning.
I'm like, if I'm already like that nasty in the morning, I'm like, well, that just throws me all off. So how about you, Marie?
Well, I still think I sing the praises of a morning walk.
Tell us.
But just for me, mentally, one, it gets me out of bed. If I just was going to study, then I would say, oh, put these study materials next to me in the bed. And after 2 paragraphs, I'd fall back to sleep. That's how I would.
I couldn't stay in the bed. I had to go sit at my porch. Or,
yeah. But I was reading about different morning routines, and I liked what this guy said on the internet, this little thing. I'll just read you this. He said, I've experimented with a ton of different morning routines. Waking up super early, waking up without an alarm, exercise, learning work, and many others. And in all these different experiments, I've found there isn't one perfect routine that will make you rich, ripped, or happy overnight. Instead, there's different routines for different purposes, so I tend to think about my routines as trying to match my most important goals of that moment. If I'm really focused on health and fitness, I start with exercise, or I put in the time to eat a healthy breakfast. If I'm working like crazy, getting straight to work on my most important tasks may be better than cluttering up my morning with different tasks. Different goals, different routines. So he suggested 6 morning routines. I like this kind of thing because it gives me permission to be flexible, and I like to not be locked into one thing. So he has exercise and energy routine. He has meditation and stillness, if that's one of your goals and important. Get to work. Like my husband, he wants to start productivity the second his eyes open. So maybe, he'll accomplish way more from 6 to noon than he would have accomplished from noon to 5.
Right.
Learning first, Julie, this would probably be you. If you're in a stage of life where you really want to learn something, morning is the great time to be putting that into your brain. He does say you should plan your day, and you should also make your bed. So I feel like a lot of the things that we've said are validated here.
So if you just put the 3 of us together, we would really be great.
Yeah. We'd make one great human being.
Yes, we would.
Well, listeners, as we've said, there's tons of different ways to approach this. I'd be interested if anyone has a great morning routine they want to share. I think I might need to go out and buy a planner after this episode because my calendar right now has a little 1 inch by 1 inch space. I can't even write down all the things I should be doing. Maybe I'd do better if I did that. What do you guys think?
Or just a piece of paper.
So just use your phone. Just open up the notes.
But before we go, let's do I'm a Fan. Mindy, what are you a fan of this week?
I'm a fan of the perfect little summer short that Abby and I happened upon while we were at the beach a couple weeks ago. We walked into the Gap factory outlet, and there before us was this whole shelf full of these little linen shorts with the tie front, and it had a $9.99 sign posted. We're like, well, we have to try those on.
Perfect.
So we each tried them on, and they fit so well. And so we ended up each getting 3 pair. And I didn't know this, but they're actually the actual name of them is the 3.5 inch high rise pull on utility shorts with wash well. And had I known they were 3.5 inches, I wouldn't have even tried them on because I typically wear a 5-inch length because I'm tall. But these are not, believe me, they are not inappropriate.
Yeah.
And they're so comfortable. And I loved the color options that they had. They had the colors that I got was a dark plum, black, and the dark olive green color.
Oh, nice.
So I gravitate towards them every day because between that, a tank top and my Birkenstocks, that's kind of my summer look.
Yeah. Well, I like that the name says wash well because that's the first thing I think of in summer when I see linen. I think, oh, well, this isn't going to wash well. It's going to always be constantly wrinkly or it's going to shrink. But you found that these wash well.
Yes. And don't get too wrinkly. They look like linen, but they're not bunched up, at my thighs when I've sat for a long time in the hot humidity. They're very cool. And just, again, they're just very easy to wear.
Okay, awesome. They sound great.
They're cute.
Oh, Julie's looked them up. All right. She's already put them in her cart. Okay, Julie, what are you a fan of this week?
All right. I'm a fan of a makeup product. Surprise, surprise.
Okay.
I'm a sucker for Instagram ads. That's where I buy all my stuff. So have you heard of the brand Iris and Romeo? Have you seen that? It's called Best Skin Days SPF 25.
Oh.
And I just ordered like the little trial size, small size. And it says it's a 5-in-1 breakthrough formula, is a serum, a moisturizer, sheer coverage, sunscreen, and blue light pollution protector. It's an instant skin beautifier that gives natural coverage and a dewy, glowy finish while protecting against UVA and UVB sunlight. So far, I've really liked it. It's just a little, like a little pot of it. I think it was $17, the trial size. I think it's $42 if you buy the bigger one. But I just wanted to give it a try. So I think I will buy it again. It's got good coverage and doesn't look too dry.
Yeah.
So you don't put anything else on over that? You just put that one thing on?
Well, I mean, blush, like I have like one of those stick creams.
Right.
But yeah, so far I like it.
Okay. Well, I think everybody likes to have products that do more than one thing. So that does 5. So that seems to check a lot of boxes. All right. I'm doing for my I'm a Fan this week kind of a recap of a couple things. Like, Mindy, I tried your Wow Brow that you recommended a couple weeks ago. Love it. Found it in Target.
Good.
It was just a cute little e.l.f. product, and I really like it. So if you have not tried Mindy's Wow Brow, definitely recommend it. And then also in our episode last week, I think, or maybe the week before, I get these mixed up with our recording schedule. But anyways, we did a summer to-do list. And one of the things that we talked about were movies we were going to see. And one of them was Elvis. And Julie and I went to see Elvis last week. And Julie, I don't know. What do you think? Would you put it on I'm a Fan?
I don't know. I'm glad I saw it. I enjoyed it. But I think maybe my expectations were too high.
Yeah.
Because I had heard it was a must see. You've got to see this. I cried through the whole thing and I did not shed tears. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I was glad I'd seen it, but it is from the perspective of his manager. And I saw a made-for-TV miniseries or movie about Priscilla and Elvis, like when I was in high school. And that was much more interesting to me because I love the personal relationships. And I didn't really feel like we found out a lot about personal relationships in this movie. It was a lot about maybe his business dealings. One thing I did learn, though, was just I didn't realize what a long career Elvis had had. Like, it had many different phases. I did not realize how opposed adults were when he first came out. Like, they tried to pass laws. They basically sent him overseas, or he could go to jail. He could either go in the service or he could go to jail. Those were the two choices portrayed in the movie. And then I didn't realize, although I had heard, but it was kind of funny to see it on the big screen, how absolutely insane fans went for him. And my girls had seen it the night before me. And when I got home, Lydia was talking to me about it. And she said, yeah, and it was just kind of weird the way those girls were acting. She goes, I don't really think that was true. I said, Lydia, I think that was true. I think girls went insane. Like, it was almost like they were having seizures of excitement. Like, their bodies were shaking. Their eyes were practically rolling back in their head.
They passed out.
Yeah, they passed out. Like, they were nuts for Elvis. And I just don't think that we've ever really experienced anything like that amongst our age group. So that was hard to imagine, but kind of cool to see like how it really probably was.
Yeah. I remember the day Elvis died because I was about 10, I think, or 12, and being at home in Memphis, getting the news, and it was just very shocking. I remember everybody was crying and so sad. And I mentioned this to my daughter, and she was, yeah, Mom, I remember the day you took us to Graceland. You had warned us, like, this is a solemn moment. Like, we didn't feel that way, but I was telling our kids, like, not to laugh and make fun of it because the people here are still mourning Elvis. And this was, 20 years later.
Wow.
And I think what I took away from the movie or remember or maybe learned was at 10, I thought Elvis was an old man. And I think he died at 42. And I think, wow, like such a short life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. So I definitely think it's worth seeing, but I definitely think you need to go into it knowing kind of what it is, you know?
Mhm.
Well, and I didn't love seeing a movie with Tom Hanks where I didn't like Tom Hanks.
Oh, true.
You know?
Yeah,
That
because
was a
he
little
plays the
odd.
manager, and you don't like his manager. Yeah. So interesting. Mindy, I know you said you were going to see it this summer, so you'll have to let us know if you do.
Yeah, it's worth seeing.
I will see it, but probably when I can stream it to my home.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it is 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Yeah, it's really long.
Yeah. So anyways, all right. Well, you guys, I definitely enjoyed this talk about morning happiness routines, and I have the chance to remake mine in the fall. So we'll have to have some kind of update on what morning happiness routines look like. Listeners, if you want to find us, you can find us on Instagram at Midlife Matters Podcast or email us at midlifematterspodcast@gmail.com. But Julie and Mindy, I look forward to talking with you next week.
Yeah.
Great. Bye, girls.
Bye.
Bye. We're so happy you joined us today. You can find the show notes for this episode at midlifematterspodcast.com. Also, please tell a friend about the show and help them hit the free subscribe button on their favorite podcast app. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Midlife Matters Podcast. That's where we post pictures and stories about all the things we talk about in each episode. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.